Lino Alvarez had been saving for this vacation for almost 2 years. A 44-year-old Filipino father of 3, he worked double shifts as a hospital orderly in Cebu before finally being granted a tourist visa to the U.S. He dreamed of seeing the Statue of Liberty, visiting Times Square, and most of all, showing his children that the world was big, bright, and full of possibilities. His wife Maria had been hesitant. They'd heard stories of how Filipinos were sometimes treated abroad, but Lino insisted. "They'll see how kind people can be," he told her with a smile. So they flew in, arrived in JFK Airport, and spent their first day wandering Central Park, taking selfies and eating halal cart chicken. By the third day, they were walking through a crowded shopping district in downtown Brooklyn, hand in hand when it happened. Officer Kyle Mathers had a reputation. Locals knew his face, his short fuse, and his tendency to escalate simple encounters into spectacles. That afternoon, Mathers stood on the corner of Fulton Street, watching people pass with narrowed eyes. Lino and his family, excitedly chatting in Tagalog, caught his attention. The children were laughing over something on a phone. Maria had just pulled out a small tourist map. That's all it took. Mathers took a step forward. "Hey," he barked. "What are you saying? Speak English here." Lino turned, confused. "Sorry?" Mathers advanced. "You heard me. You speak English or you got something to hide?" Lino gently stepped in front of his kids. "We're tourists, sir. Just visiting. We're not doing anything wrong." But the cop wasn't listening. He yanked Lino's backpack off his shoulder. "Let me see what you're carrying. You got ID?" Maria clutched her children's shoulders. "Why are you doing this? We haven't done anything." Mathers glared. "You don't question me, lady." He shoved Lino backward against a storefront. "Stop resisting!" Lino didn't even move. Phones began to rise. A food delivery worker standing nearby started recording. "They're just tourists, man. Leave them alone," Mathers growled, pulling out cuffs. "Back away or you'll be next." One of Lino's daughters began crying. "Papa?" Lino looked into his children's eyes, his voice calm, breaking. "It's okay. Just stay with Mama." Mathers grabbed Lino's arm and twisted. This is what you get when you act suspicious. But nothing about Lino was suspicious, except the color of his skin. The crowd grew, dozens of phones now. A woman shouted, "This is racism! He didn't do anything!" A man stepped forward. "You're on camera, bro. He's got 3 kids with him." Mathers hesitated, but not enough. He shoved Lino to the ground. That's when the children screamed. Maria stepped in, shouting in English, "Stop! You're hurting him!" The video caught everything. Lino's face against the concrete, the fear in his kids' eyes, the raw panic. It spread like wildfire online. Hashtags like #Justice for Lino and #Family First trended worldwide. Major outlets picked it up. Tourist assaulted in front of kids. Another innocent man attacked for speaking his language. The NYPD scrambled. Mathers was placed on leave, but the damage was done. Lino sat bruised in a holding cell for 6 hours. When they released him, there were no charges, no apology, only cameras waiting. Lino looked into the lenses, holding his wife's hand, his voice shaking. "We came to visit. We leave with fear. But maybe this opened some eyes." That night, the footage was shown on every news channel. Civil rights lawyers called. Public officials demanded hearings. The mayor issued a statement. The governor condemned the act. Lino's family became symbols, not of victimhood, but resilience. In the weeks that followed, Lino stood before City Hall, invited by a coalition of Asian American advocacy groups. He spoke gently, not with anger, but clarity. "All I wanted was to show my kids the world. Now they've seen its harshness, but they've also seen people care." Donations poured in to cover the family's legal costs. The delivery man who filmed the video became a friend. Schools invited Lino to speak about respect and inclusion. Children wrote letters. One simply said, "I'm sorry that happened. You didn't deserve it." Months later, the NYPD announced that Officer Mathers had been terminated after an internal review confirmed a pattern of behavior. Over a dozen past complaints had been ignored until now. Lawsuits followed. But what mattered more was the policy change. New rules were introduced: racial bias training, clearer guidelines for public encounters, language protection measures for tourists. Lino and Maria decided to stay a little longer, not out of fear, but purpose. They started a blog, Voices from the Curb, where people around the world shared their stories of unjust treatment and how communities stood up. By the time they returned home, the Philippines welcomed them like heroes. News channels interviewed them. A senator praised their courage. Lino,